zoom in to the city of Philadelphia and crime. And a specific crime that took place over the weekend at about 10 o'clock on a train in Philadelphia. A man by the name of Fiston Ngoy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but Fiston boarded the train. He went over and he sat next to a woman, began trying to touch her. And she resisted a couple of times. And then once he had had enough of her resisting, he proceeded to rape her. Now, this is not an empty train car. This is a train car that was occupied. And what happened as he raped her? Well, nothing other than the rape. People looked on. There's reporting that people recorded it. No one called 911. No one tried to intervene and stop it. It is an absolutely horrific, brutal crime in a city that is run by Democrats and has been run by Democrats for years. And no one touched it. Now, I would like to read a couple of comments here. This piece was by Jack Davis over at the Western Journal. You can read it after the show if you'd like. Superintendent Timothy Bernhardt of the Upper Darby Police Department said, police only learned about the alleged rape after an employee of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority told police that something wasn't right with a woman on the train as it passed him. Happened at 10 p.m. Bystanders did nothing to help the woman. Bernhardt said it speaks to where we are as a society. I do think it speaks to where we are as a society, but I think it also speaks to where population centers can often be as societies of their own. We were talking earlier today, you and Joey and I were talking, and we were talking about this, I think it's this story in particular. And Joey made the point that essentially what happens is you have policymakers and academics, the chattering class, they're centralized in metropolitan areas. And so they see things like this happen. They see pollution. They see the maltreatment of the impoverished. They see abuse. And they think the entire country looks like that, when in fact, no, the entire country does not at all look like that. If you go where, I don't know where you're from, Grant, where are you from?
Good old Greensboro, North Carolina.
So if you go, I mean, you're from Iowa, I'm from Arkansas originally. If you go to those places, if you go to North Carolina, you don't have as much of that there. In fact, what you have are pristine lakes. You have beautiful fields. You have lots of trees. And let me tell you something. I can't speak for Iowa. I can't speak for North Carolina, but I do know in Arkansas or in Tennessee, where I live, you try to rape somebody on a train and you're going to get your face smashed in. And it's radically different in those places than it is in these metro centers. And the left, I got to stop saying that. The left knows what it does. By the way, we kind of make a distinction here. There are Democrats, there are liberals, and there are leftists. Democrats are people affiliated with a political party that generally leans more toward the left. Liberals are people, again, who maybe lean a little bit more toward the left, but they generally believe in freedom. Leftists are people who clearly are on the left, and they do not believe in freedom. They believe in authoritarianism, big government, micromanagement, socialism, and though they will not tell you, they believe in de facto communism. And so what happens is that you've got Democrats and you've got liberals in these big cities, and they think that the entire country is like that. And good Lord, if the entire country was like that, okay, I get it. You're worried about massive poverty. You're worried about homelessness. You're worried about environmental issues. Folks, the country is not like that. The whole country is not like that. Michael, you grew up in Iowa. How many train rapes did you see in Iowa?
None.
None.
And if I had, I know that I would have done something about it. The people around me that I grew up with would have done something about it, would have said something, stopped him. Yeah. Something would have happened. And, a lot of the states you mentioned, the guy wouldn't have just gotten beat up. He would have gotten shot.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Grant, it is interesting. You see all of these movements in so many metropolitan areas to defund the police. When you defund police, when you don't have police present in these areas, it seems like things like this tend to happen.
Yeah, things like this, or, even worse or just as bad things. Death being one of them, gun crime, knife crime. Yeah. I mean, whatever it is, violent crime. whether it's a sexual crime, whether it's, a fatal crime. Those things are all up. And those things are up in liberal cities that are run by Democrats. That's just a fact. I mean, they can try to argue all they want. They can try to say that it's not true. You look at places like Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a complete hellhole right now. And they have one of the most, well, honestly, she's a leftist, but they have a Democratic governor who is insane. And mayor who is insane in Lori Lightfoot. And it's not just a one-off. This is a constant thing that we see in democratic areas of the United States. And it's such a vast difference. You see it with COVID, you see it with crime. Blue places, whether it's a state or just a city within a larger state, are horrible places to live in. People are leaving them in droves. They're going to red places like here. They're going to Tennessee. They're going to Nashville, wherever. They're going to states that are red.
Texas, Arizona.
Because they don't want to live in blue states because people get raped on trains and people get killed in the streets.
And nobody does anything about it.
Nobody does anything about it. That is the bizarre thing about this.